All right, moving into the final segment of the day. The ruble. It has almost completely recovered from the sanctions. The sanctions did not work. All they did was fuck us in the ass. And the people responsible for them should be held accountable for that. People should go to prison for that. Unjust hardship. Unjust hardship. But anyway, the US dollar is fucking devaluing and the ruble is almost completely recovered. Let's just get into this from Fortune. Russia Ruble has almost totally recovered. Does that mean sanctions aren't working? Yes. Yes. It means they're adapting and the sanctions are no longer relevant. The ruble is no longer a ruble. The Russian ruble by Wednesday had bounced back from the fall it took after the U.S. and European allies moved to bury the Russian economy under thousands of new sanctions over its invasion of Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin has restored to extreme financial measures to blunt the West's penalties, inflating his currency, like going back to the gold standard and shit. Like
That's how winning is done.
the these sanctions tanked our money, tanked the value of our dollar, and they strengthened Russia by forcing the ruble, by forcing them to go back to the gold standard. While the West has imposed unprecedented levels of sanctions against the Russian economy, Russia's central bank has jacked up interest rates for 20%, and the Kremlin has imposed strict capital controls on those wishing to exchange their rubles for dollars or euros. It's a monetary defense. Putin may not be able to sustain a long-term sanction way down the Russian economy, but the ruble recovery could be a sign that the sanctions in their current form are not working as powerfully as Ukraine's allies counted on when it comes to pressuring Putin to pull his troops from Ukraine. It also could be a sign that Russia's efforts to artificially prop up its currency are working by leveraging its own oil and gas sector. It's probably a combination of both. It's usually a combination of both. But the fact remains is that the Russian ruble is becoming stronger. Even if it's worth less, it's bounced back and it's becoming stronger. It's on the gold standard, and our money is tanking. Tanking. The value of our money is tanking. Biden had to release 180 million barrels of oil into our economy from our reserves. That's a million barrels fucking a month or whatever. And if we were to use that straight through, that would only power us for 9 motherfucking days. That's a band-aid at best. So it's gonna get worse. I mean, it really is. We're not gonna join Fortune. The ruble was trading. The ruble was trading at roughly 85 to the US dollar, roughly where it was before Russia started the invasion a month ago. The ruble had fallen as low as roughly 150 to the dollar on March 7th when news emerged that the Biden administration would ban U.S. imports of Russian oil and gas. Speaking to Norway's parliament on Wednesday, Ukraine's president urged Western allies to inflict still greater financial pain on Russia. We can't inflict greater financial pain on fucking Russia, Zelensky. It's not fucking working, and it's fucking me in the ass. I'm not going to destabilize my own country to help yours. Because then both of us are fucking fucked, and I can't help you anymore at all. Like, that's not a good strategic move. I'm fucking sorry. The only means of using Russia to look for peace are sanctions, Vladimir Zelensky said in a video message from his besieged country. He added, the stronger the sanctions packages are going to be, the faster we'll bring back peace. Increasingly, European nations' purchase of Russian oil and natural gas are coming under scrutiny as a loophole in lifetime for Russian economy. For Russia, everything is about their energy revenues. It's half their federal budget. It's the thing that props up Putin's regime and the war, said Tanya Babina, an economist at Columbia University who was born in Ukraine. Biased much? Biased much? Babina is currently working with the group of 200 Ukrainian economists to more accurately document how effective the West sanctions are in stymieing Putin's war making capabilities. The ruble, I've been speaking so much today. This is the third one I've recorded today. The ruble has also risen amid reports that the Kremlin has been more open to ceasefire talks with Ukraine. U.S. and Russian officials have expressed skepticism about Russia's announcement that it would dial back operations. President Joe Biden promoted the success of the sanctions, some of the toughest ever imposed on the nation, while he was in Poland last week. The ruble almost immediately reduced to rubble, Biden said. Yeah, and it's almost completely bounced back.
Winning? No.
You suck!
It was only temporary, and it failed. Sanctions on Russia's financial institutions and companies, on trade, and on Putin's power brokers were crushing the country's economic growth and promoting hundreds of international companies stop doing business there, Biden noted. Russian efforts to counter those sanctions by propping up the ruble can only be so far, and that's not really true. McDonald's pulled out, and Russia nationalized all the buildings and stuff, took them, seized them from McDonald's, changed the name, and they still sell the same food. It's still McDonald's in Russia.
Winning? No.
You suck!
Russian efforts to counter those sanctions by propping up the ruble can only go so far. Russia's central bank cannot keep raising interest rates because doing so will eventually choke off credit to businesses and borrowers. At some point, individuals and businesses will develop ways to go around Russia's capital controls by moving money in smaller amounts as the penalties depress the Russian economy. Economists say they will eventually weigh down the ruble. Without these effects, Russia's currency would almost certainly be weaker. But Russia's oil and gas exports have continued to Europe as well as to China and India. Those exports have acted as an economic floor for the Russian economy, which is dominated by the energy sector. If the European Union a dependence on Russian gas for electricity and heating had made it significantly more difficult to turn off that spigot, which the Biden administration did when it banned the relatively small amount of petroleum the U.S. imports from Russia. I don't know I report any fucking petroleum from anywhere when we have fucking that shit here and we can produce that shit here and we keep banning the fucking... We could be energy independent, but we fucking have our heads so far up our asses that we're dependent on fucking Russia. And if we were energy dependent and fucking we could be exporting that shit, and European could be buying that shit from us, and none of this could have been a fucking problem anyway. But this has been your war updates. I'll see you in the next one. Just fucking saying. Thank you for checking out this clip of my Thought of the Day podcast. You can catch this podcast every Tuesday through Friday at that'sonpoint.info by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that's how winning is done. New clips go out daily, and we can't do this without you, so we appreciate your support. With that being said, consider joining for $5 a month, and you get early access to the uncensored version of this, early access to our weekly That's On Point podcast, and access to exclusive content only for members. All the money that we receive is going to go funnel back into this to hire more journalists and do more things for you guys, because that's how winning is done. It really is. We got a merch store and stuff. You can help there, and if you can't help via money, you can always just leave a comment, and share this out there, because that helps us more than you can immensely know. That's the best way to help. Just leave a comment, and share. And if you're listening to us, leave a review. Leave a good review. Help us boost us in the podcast ratings and get us up there, because that's how winning is done. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.